Victim Unit.
Sir?
Good morning, listeners. I'm Everton Mitchum, Inspector of Police, in charge of the Professional Standards Department.
Welcome once again.
Thank you.
Yes, welcome, Inspector Mitchum. Now, you're both here today because you represent two very important units within the police force, the Royal St. Christopher and Nevis Police Force. So let's begin by giving us a description of your department and what your department entails, what you do. Again, ladies first.
At the Special Victim Unit, we investigate all sexual offenses, domestic violence reports, and all reports which are juvenile related. And our office is located at Needmas in front of the Water Department building, and there is a sign on the wall fence and also on the building which says the Royal St. Christopher Nevis Police Force Special Victims Unit. Our phone number is 465-2241, extension 4232 or 4252. Our cellular phone number is 662-7077.
Inspector Mitchell.
Yes, good morning again. Let me give you a little background on the Professional Standards Department.
Please do.
The Professional Standards Department was created in 2014, and it was created as part of the force quality control for our officers. It's located at Police Headquarters, Bastia Police Station, and we investigate all aspects of officers' misconduct in the public. So any issue that a citizen, resident or visitor might have with an officer's conduct in public, they bring it to our attention and we seek to address that. Our numbers are 465-2241, extension 4214 or 4312 or 662-1015. You could also reach us via email, professionalstandards@police.kn, or you can send us a letter, Professional Standards Department, P.O. Box 189, Bastia, St. Kitts.
All right, thank you very much, Sergeant Rogers and Inspector Mitchum. Now, Inspector Mitchum, my second question is geared to you. Why would you say that a unit like yours within the police force is important?
Okay. The Professional Standards Department has two facets. We do audit and inspections of stations and departments. We also do internal affairs investigation. Today we are concentrating on that facet, the internal affairs investigation department of the force. And I believe a department like ours is extremely important. In any organization, we have to be sure that our officers are conforming to policies that we have established, and they are not engaging in misconduct and those sort of things. So it is our department's mandate that whenever an officer is in the public domain, they are to conduct themselves with the highest ethical behavior. And if anybody in our society sees a police officer misbehaving, miscommunicating, whatever the issue is, they are to bring it to our attention, and we will try and bring that officer back in line.
Okay, so let me piggyback on what you said and ask you another question. So there are those who believe that the police cannot fairly and impartially investigate their own. What would you say to people who have that view?
I will say to them, put us to the test. If there's anything that you see untoward that a police officer is doing in the public domain, bring it to our attention. Yes. And let us investigate it. And we will show you that we are fair and we are above board. We investigate every report that is brought to our attention.
And you function not only in St. Kitts but in Nevis as well?
We function in the entire federation. The department consists of 3 persons. We are 3 strong. two police officers and a civilian employee. And the civilian employee is there to try and keep us balanced. She brings a public perspective to the department. So in every case, we try to be as fair as possible. And if you bring a report to us and you think we are not being as fair as we should be, you can always seek legal advice. The lawyers would contact us
Okay.
and seek to find out what is the process, how far we are with certain investigations,
Yes.
and we are obliged to disclose whatever information is brought to our attention to the legal counsel.
All right, thank you. So, let me touch on a very sensitive topic now. As Sergeant Rogers would know, now that we are aware that crimes of a sexual nature are very sensitive and very serious. Recently, we saw a note being circulated in the social media making some very serious allegations against male police officers in relation to female officers in the police force. So my question to you, Inspector, have either of you, well, both you and Sergeant Rogers, have either of you ever received any complaints in regard to your any complaints in this regard in relation to your respective units?
Well, my department has never received a complaint based on the question that you asked. We've never received a complaint with regards to that. And if we had, we would investigate it. It does not matter who the public is complaining about. We are obliged, we are obligated to investigate it.
And the Special Victim Unit did not receive any report of that sort. And if and when we receive any report of that sort, the report will be investigated. We don't discriminate, it doesn't matter. If the person is a high-ranking police officer, a doctor, a lawyer, it doesn't matter. We will investigate that matter once it is reported to our unit.
All right, thank you. So, we know that our commissioner has a zero tolerance policy when it comes to such matters, particularly in sexual harassment issues. So, can you shed some light on how is sexual harassment within the police force dealt with, if it exists?
Well, I have no knowledge of sexual harassment in the police force. And if it exists, I encourage anybody who is affected to come forward and make a report. We will deal with it. Your information would not be disclosed to anybody in the public domain. It's confidential, and we will deal with it to the full extent of the law. If there are elements of criminality, then we would forward that to the appropriate department for it to be dealt with.
Of course, pending on your investigation.
Yes. Well, if we are investigating a disciplinary matter and we find elements of criminality, then there's a parallel investigation.
Okay.
The criminal side and the disciplinary side.
Okay.
But we always give the criminal side a chance to go ahead.
Understand. Sergeant Richards?
So you're saying that criminal matters would take precedence over disciplinary matters?
At all times.
Because one would more or less be dependent on the other. If one were exonerated at the criminal level, could one still be found? Could one still be inculpated or found liable at the disciplinary level?
Well, they can. Because you're exonerated at the criminal court does not mean you have not committed some breach against the force policy or standing orders. So even though you are exonerated there, we can still bring disciplinary proceedings against you.
Okay.
Okay, so Sergeant Rogers, if I know your department deals specifically with these issues, particularly sexual harassment. So if it were that it existed within the police force, how would your department deal with it?
If it existed within the police force and the report has been brought to our attention, we will investigate the matter with strictest confidentiality. And so far, we have not received any reports of that sort.
So now that goes, notice the language they use in GQ.
I realize.
That goes to my next question now. So what can you say to allay the fears about confidentiality to anyone who might have information regarding these allegations, or a person who might be aggrieved or affected? Because as you know, for instance, an officer may be sexually harassed by a junior or senior officer, depends. What can you say to this person who has fears of reporting it because they have confidentiality issues, so to speak?
Okay, I will say to them, don't be afraid to come to the Special Victim Unit or call and make that report. Because if someone at the unit breach the confidentiality by speaking to any unauthorized persons about your report, the matter will be investigated. And once we can prove that that person really bring out information regarding to your report, then that person will be charged disciplinarily for discreditable conduct, and they will be removed from the department forthwith. Because we do not encourage persons to leak confidential information. Our unit is a very sensitive unit, and so when persons come to the unit to make their report, we know, all of us know, that we have to be confidential about it. We do not give out persons' information. So if there is anyone who is a victim of any sexual offense, you do not have to be fearful about coming to the Special Victim Unit or even calling to make your report, because your report will be dealt with the strictest of confidentiality.
Anything to add, Inspector?
I'm in the same vein as the sergeant. And I think that is probably why my department is so small in size. If any information that comes to us is leaked, we would know where it came from.
Mm-hmm.
We're only 3.
Mm-hmm.
So we must know who leaked this information.
Right. The elimination process is not that hard.
It's not hard. And so we encourage anybody with any information.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to come in person and report it. You can call, you can send us a letter, you can email us, and we will deal with it. Or if you have a confidant, speak to that person and let them come to us, and we will deal with it.
Sergeant Richards, can we take a break? And
Yes.
then after that, on the other side, we can entertain some calls, if that's
Indeed.
okay with you. And of course, this morning program, is coming to your compliments, National Bank.
National Bank introduces its guide to easy banking. Now, there's no more need to wait in long lines to withdraw cash or pay your bills. Our Mo Banking app has some great features. Transfer funds to another national mobile banking customer using Pay a Pair. Pay your bills at the following merchants: Skilec, Flow, Digicel, The Cable, Water Services, NCI, and more. You can even pay your Black Card. Now, transferring funds between your personal accounts is so much easier. Everyone has been in a situation where you wonder, where did my money go? You can view the last 90 days transactions and find out. Instead of visiting the bank, send a secure message to pay your loan or mortgage, or even query an issue. And finally, set up alerts to receive notifications when funds are credited or debited from your account. Your time is priceless. There's no more need to wait in long lines. Download our Mo Banking app now and sign up today at sknanb.com. National Bank. Always here.
Improve your energy levels. Stay sharp on your feet. Drastically improve your performance. Burn fat, all while lowering health risks. Have a cup of coffee today at Coffee Shop Portzante. Coffee Shop Portzante, now serving happiness.
Domus Windows and Doors presents our free Hurricane webinar series Making buildings highly hurricane resistant in 2020. Join us on Thursday, 15th October at 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. or 6:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. Visit www.domuswindows.com or WhatsApp 762-8800 to register, or visit our Facebook and Instagram pages to gain free access.
Good morning and welcome back. The lines are open 465-2555. That's 2555. And if you're overseas, 718-577-2916. In the meantime, I'll let Sergeant Richards continue with we have a call. Sorry, can we take the call?
Yes. By all means.
Good morning, you're live.
Good morning.
Yes, good morning. All right, we'll
Welcoming the policeman for coming on this morning and to deal with a very touchy stuff presented on social media. Still, I come on there in attendance this morning. I have a problem with this investigating police. I think I may say, it happens in other jurisdictions too. But let me touch on this important reason why I don't believe in police, investigating police. Now, there's a sergeant and an inspector there representing the victim unit. And I want to say, this is my humble opinion. When a sergeant, now I understand she's a senior officer, but not so much seniority. You have the Supreme, you have the ACPs, and then you have the Commissioner of Police. For argument's sake, one of these higher officials, like a superintendent or ACP, was accused of wrongdoing for WPC. You think a constable, a police constable or WPC would feel comfortable reporting that matter to the victim unit when she herself or he himself is a sergeant and an inspector to somebody in the high man who is in higher authority than them. And I think that is one of the problems here. And I am saying here that this is the reason why I don't believe in police. Police reporting police. It is not, to me, it's not fair. But I'll come back with another subject matter dealing with the same issue. Jekyll, God bless you. Thank you.
God bless you, man. Thank you for sharing your opinion and point of view. Did you all understand? You were saying the line wasn't that clear.
He wasn't too clear. But I get that he's suggesting that it's okay for us to investigate junior ranks. But when it comes to the hierarchy, the ACPs, the superintendents, and the commissioner, we would be afraid to investigate them. But there's a mechanism in place for that. Any allegation that are brought against an officer of the rank of inspector and above, we collate that information and we forward it to the Police Service Commission. And they are the ones who are responsible for that investigation.
Okay. All right, I hope that's clear.
All officers of the force are subject to an investigation as long as an allegation is made. They are no free rides. Not because you wear the khaki or the green, as we call it, that you can do things and get away with it.
Okay.
You're subject to the same scrutiny as everybody else.
Okay. I'll just take another call. Good morning, you're live.
Good morning, GQ. Good morning to the police officers.
Good morning.
The police inspector who is there in green, what is his name again?
Inspector Mitchum.
Mitchum. Mr. Mitchum, do you know Larry Vaughn? And do you know that Larry Vaughn made a report to you 26 months ago and up to now on a police officer, and up to now you have not responded to Larry Vaughn? And so while you guys on radio talking about how people should come to you and everything would be treated and everything would be responded to, why is it that 26 months later, Larry Vaughn has not heard back from the police force, having made a report about a police officer who abused him and manhandled him both on his job and in the police station? I will listen online.
Good morning, Mr. Vaughn. Thanks for the question. As I said earlier, when any report is brought to our attention and the court is involved, we allow that process to take precedence. And if my memory serves me, Mr. Vaughn, your report or your complaint is still in the court. And that is the reason why you haven't heard from us yet. We are waiting for that process to take its course. And then we would follow up with you, Mr. Vaughn.
All right, let's go back to the lines. Good morning, you're live and lively.
Yes, good morning. Hello, good morning.
Yes, good morning, man. You're live.
Yes,
Go ahead.
good morning to the police constable and the inspectors and also the host of the show. What I want to say, right, I find something was very disrespectful the other day. There a radio host, right? He must get some kind of letter, WhatsApp or what it is. And before he contacted the police higher brass to find out if these accusations are true, he went on the radio and talking, giving the impression like everybody in the police force is bad. You may have a few bad ones in there, but 95% are good police. I am not picking a side. I'm not looking at special favors. I see it and I call it how I see it. Right? So when they're doing these things, they should contact the police department first before you go and try to listen the police department. That all police in there and high brass and inspectors and local police is who are doing prostitution, raping. Them things can't be right. And that's all I have to say. Okay, thank you for listening. My problem.
All right, thank you, man. Thank you for your call. Any response to, we all know the voice, Rockefeller. Rock, good morning to you again. Any response, or should we move on? All right, let's move on. Let's take this next call. Good morning, you're live.
GQ, good morning.
Yes, morning.
Yeah, I want to say good morning to the good police them there. If your teeth hurt you is the police. If your eye hurt you and your head hurt you is the police. Officer, I personally want to know why the commissioner of police do not want to come on a program. He's the top cop. He must come to the country. You don't wait for opportunity to go to the Prime Minister. Good morning, Clearly. I must shout you out. God bless you. You give me a rock voice with this program, Police in the View. What the best thing we could ever have throughout the police force. I want to say to the sergeant there, you have a problem up in your tongue by Tucker Clark School. You are in the police. Read the citizens. You all must get your ears on and all the radio program and understand what's going on in the community. We cannot run things like this, you know. You got people coming here doing everything like opening Bradshaw by school. Why you couldn't work with Mr. Bradshaw? Man, I do the thing properly. We say all kind of bad things about Walwyn, you know. But Walwyn, he from the front. He does some crazy thing with a crazy man. But he wants to lead by the front and come at the road and hear what the poor people got to say. Don't sign up is a right when people have serious issues on the road. I want to talk one thing more with you. The problem let's talk about It's a very serious problem. And radio host must not take these things and go on the ear and blow it out so. Because the young man directing the country how you go about it. You can't just allow people in things and you ain't got facts. That station got to watch itself, you know, because they're traveling and dangerous wrong. Have a good day, GQ. And
Yes.
Miss Rogers, I want to meet you. Have a good day.
All right. We'll take another call. Thanks for your call, Jamdong. Good morning, you live.
Good morning. This is Larry Vaughn calling back. Inspector Mitchum, that does not fly. Because in August 2018, I made the report. If you knew that the matter is before the court, you could either call me or write me back and say, the investigation will be delayed because it is in court. I'm saying 26 months now, you have not reached back out to me when I have made a report. I have submitted it in writing, I have presented it to you, and never once did you get back to me within 26 months. That is my concern. Whether it is before the court or not, that should have been communicated to me through you because I made the report to you. That is what I'm saying. Thank you. I'll listen off here.
All right. Inspector?
Yes, Mr. Vaughan. There seem to be some underlying issues that we need to hear. I encourage you to contact me when I leave here. My number is 662-1015, and we will trash this out.
Let's take another call. All right, we lost that one. Sergeant Richards, we don't have any calls at the moment.
Yes, just to address our good friend Jamdong, who without fail calls in every week. Firstly, to address the issue that he wants the commissioner to come and address certain issues. The Police Act speaks to the commissioner or his or her designee. Now, the commissioner of police has complete superintendence over the police force, which is 400 plus strong. He cannot address every issue. And as such, he would designate a person or persons to address certain issues. So, just to address that, Jamdong, the commissioner doesn't have to be here. Okay, he can designate someone, he can delegate someone, to address certain issues. As it relates to the radio host and the allegation he said that was made. Now, let me address that quite cogently. Firstly, it is not an allegation. For it to be an allegation, GQ, a report must have been made to a competent or relevant authority. As far as we know, as far as both the inspector and the sergeant would have told us this morning, no report has been made. So what is on social media is precisely that, what is on social media. However, I would implore, I would beseech anyone aggrieved. If you are so aggrieved, we have the persons here to report it to. So if this incident that is purported exists, there are mechanisms in place to address it. However, if what was put on social media was ill-intended, I also want to say to you that that is defamatory at best. And there are also mechanisms in place to seek redress for that. Just to be clear on that issue, GQ.
Thank you for that. Let's go back to the phone line. And good morning, you're live.
Good morning, GQ.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning, officers.
Morning,
Mr. Mitchell, how are you? I was trying to get in a long time. Mr. Mitchell, are you there?
Yes, he can hear you loud and clear.
Yes. I think I heard you say something about if a police officer is charged criminally, I don't know if that's the word, or however, or maybe civilian, and they are not found guilty, that doesn't stop you from charging them disciplinarily. Did I hear you say that?
Yes, you did.
Using the same set of evidence?
Using the what I am saying is, an officer could be exonerated at the criminal court.
I can't understand the word.
That doesn't mean he hasn't
I am a
committed some
simple
breach
public
against the
officer. I need
disciplinary
you to
code.
break that word down for us.
Wait, hold on a minute there, Mrs. James. She's not understanding the terminologies that you're using. She asked if you can break it down in layman terms for her.
Mr. Counsel, can you hear me?
Yes, she can.
If an officer is found not guilty for a criminal offense at the court, that doesn't mean the officer did not commit a breach against our disciplinary code.
Right.
The offenses could be quite different.
Okay. So
We have
you're saying
offenses against regulations. We have offenses against our standing orders. We have offenses against station orders. There are many, many offenses that an officer could be charged for disciplinarily.
All right, Ms. James, go ahead.
would you use the same set of evidence that the court, they get away from the court, which higher, the magistrate court or the disciplinary court?
Hold on, Ms. James. I'm going to let him respond. Please listen.
The magistrate court is obviously higher. But we will do our own investigations.
Go ahead now, Ms. James.
I ask you which is higher? I didn't hear the answer.
So the court is higher, obviously.
Which court?
You ask about the magistrate court and the disciplinary tribunal, yes?
The follow-up to that, would an officer be given a chance, a choice, to be tried by the magistrate or to be tried by the tribunal officer?
To go before the court. He can choose that.
Yeah, that's the question I'm asking. So, to be fair to the officer, now, I am asking you, after the magistrate court said that officer is not guilty, you're going to turn around and use that same set of evidence to charge the officer?
As I explained, our investigation will be quite different. So, the offense that he's brought to court for will be different from the disciplinary aspect of it.
I beg to differ. If they came out of the same set of circumstances, you can't, according to law. I beg to differ. I'm not picking up for the officers because I am an officer of the court as well. But I beg to differ. And I think half of the confusion that we're experiencing is because of those circumstances. I listen off. You're gone to work.
All right, thank you for your call. Do you want to expound a little bit more, or are you going to leave it as that?
I am not sure which part of the issue counsel is not clear on. But as I said, if an allegation is made against a police officer and the Professional Standards Department begins an investigation and we find there are aspects of criminality, we forward that to maybe the CID department, the Criminal Investigation Department, and they are allowed to do their own investigation. If they find that the officer at court is guilty, then the court deals with that. But he's still an officer. And he might have committed offenses against the disciplinary code as well. So because he's found guilty or not guilty for the criminal offense, does not mean he has not committed some disciplinary breach. He could have committed, the threshold at court is much higher. And so he could have committed offenses against our disciplinary code. Although the court found that the evidence wasn't sufficient.
I understand. Let's take these last two calls that we have here, and then we're going to wrap up our program. We have National Assembly coming up at 10 o'clock, which we are scheduled to bring for you live this morning. You're live.
Good morning again, GQ.
Yes, morning.
And the officers there. GQ, I want to remind Inspector Mitchell in his opening remarks, if I recall very well, that he said the internal investigation of the victim unit has nothing absolutely to do with the outcome of the criminal matter in the police, in the court. And I would like him to refresh my memory if I'm wrong, because that is what I understood. Because if they still would have an investigation of the police or whoever in the police investigation, then that is two separate things altogether. So I would like him to explain that to me, please. Thank you,
All right.
GQ.
Inspector?
I don't think I quite understand the question, but let me reiterate. A police who is undergoing a criminal investigation is different from a disciplinary investigation. They're two different things. The Professional Standards Department does not investigate criminal offenses. We investigate disciplinary offenses only. If during our investigation we find that there's some elements of criminality in what the officer had done, then we are obligated to forward that to a department who does criminal investigations. The investigations might run parallel, but we give the criminal aspect a chance to go forward. In the end, whether or not the officer is found culpable at court does not mean our investigation stops. We still have to look to see if that officer committed any disciplinary breaches.
How I understand it is the law is the law. You give preference to the law first, and then you deal with your policies afterwards.
Yes.
That's how I understand it. Let's take these last two calls, and then we're going to wrap up the program. I'm going to ask you all to take notes because of the time constraint that we're under. Hi, good morning, you're live. All right, let's try this one. Good morning.
GQ?
Yes, good morning.
Good. This will be my final call. This is Larry Vaughn, and I'm directing this last comment to you as the host of the show. What I've just experienced is that I submitted a number of reports to the police. They have my numbers and my address. Yet, because I called in on radio to give a comment on it, for me to get some word from them, I must call them. So it tells me that my reports have been filed on the G, so they can't find my numbers or my address to get back to me. So I would have to call them. That should not be so if they are serving the public. If people have made reports and you have to get back to them, get back to them. To ask on radio that I should now call you says that you do not have the means by which to get back to me. And I want it to be proven to me that the officer has taken my matter seriously, and for the last 26 months it has been placed in a place where it can be found once the case is finished. And so if the officer is telling me that I have to call him, it says to me that the information that I have presented is no longer at his fingertips. Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Well, I'm going to let that be your last call. And Inspector, I'm going to let you address that because he has some theories, and I'm hoping that the theories that he has are not correct, and we can address this properly.
Mr. Vaughn, I assure you that your file is on my desk. Dust is not even on it. I look at it regularly. And I will call you after we get off here, and we will have a discussion.
Thank you for that, and I do hope Mr. Larry Vaughn gets his issues sorted out. Sergeant Richards, I'm going to let you dictate how you want to wrap up the program this morning.
Any closing remarks, Inspector? Sergeant Rogers?
Yes, I would just like to say to the listening audience that if you have any report to make, whether it's about a sexual offense or domestic violence or juvenile related, feel free to contact the Special Victim Unit or come to the unit, and we will be willing to investigate your report in an efficient and professional manner.
Yes.
Inspector?
Finally, I would like to let the general audience know that the Commissioner of Police, and by extension the Professional Standards Department, is committed to providing all citizens and visitors alike with the best possible law enforcement services available. And so we encourage you, no matter what the circumstance, please call us. Let us look into it. If we cannot give you the result that you wish, we can advise you. You can seek legal counsel. You can take it to the civil court. But let us know about it. Give us a chance to help you. That's what we're here for. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Inspector Mitchum. Thank you, Sergeant Rogers, both of you for coming here today and expounding on your various departments. GQ, before I wrap up, permit me to say a special good morning to Ambassador Ian Creeley, who always listens without fail every week. Our former commissioner.
Yes.
And one of my mentors, if I may add.
Yes.
To Council Agatha James, I wish to say, I disagree with you vehemently. Why? Because even though the circumstances may be the same, they may not have met the evidential test criminally. However, that does not dictate or that does not indicate that the officer, as the inspector would have indicated, that does not say by any means that the officer was not in breach of any policy, force orders, or standing orders. So therefore, even though the facts and circumstances may have been the same, his or her actions may not tantamount to a breach of any criminal legislation, but their actions invariably may have breached all the policies or one of the policies within our police force. And as such, they must be disciplined for that. So I disagree with Council, and Council knows we and how to find me, and we can have a conversation on that. So I don't want officers to feel that because you would have been exonerated at the criminal court, that you were not in breach of any force policies. GQ, in closing, I would just like to say that the police are held to a higher standard. And as such, we cannot only be seen to police the public, but we have to be seen to police ourselves. And as such, which is why I've brought Inspector Mitchum and Sergeant Rogers here. And they function with the very highest of integrity, in my humble opinion. And I have seen reports that the inspector would have dealt with. I have seen reports that the sergeant would have dealt with. And I can assure the public that the police take any and every report, particularly against police officers, very serious. They're of paramount importance, because at the end of the day, we cannot protect and serve the public if we ourselves as officers are misbehaving. And again, to finally address what is being circulated on social media, it is not an allegation. No report, as the inspector and the sergeant says, have been made. No official reports have been made. So what is circulating on social media is precisely that. So I want us to be very careful. If there are any aggrieved persons, as per the report, please make the relevant reports to the competent authorities. If not, and you are doing that maliciously, that tantamounts to defamation. And that is libelous and slanderous at best. And there's legal redress for that. GQ, I want to thank you again for having me. I want to thank the listening public, as always, for listening. Our faithful callers for calling in and making the program what it is. This has been another edition of Policing With You. Please tune in again next week for another edition.
Tell me what you think about Marcus. Tell me what you think about Christ. Made their sacrifice now. Tell me what you think about equal rights for all, everywhere. Say what you think, what you think, what you think, what you think about justice. What you know, what you know, what you know, what you know about